అంటే నువ్వు ఎక్కడి నుండి ప్రొక్యూర్ చేస్తావు. ఓకేనా. ప్రొక్యూర్ అంటే ఫర్ ఎగ్జాంపుల్ కొటేషన్ నుండి స్టార్ట్ కావచ్చు. లేకపోతే పర్చేస్ రిక్విజిషన్ అంటే ఒక రిక్వెస్ట్ మన యాజ్ ఏ ఎండ్ యూజర్ మనము కన్సల్టెంట్
నీ స్క్రీన్ షేర్ అవ్వట్లే.
చేశానే.
టీమ్స్ కనబడుతుంది అంతే.
అవునా, ఇంకోసారి చేస్తా. ఓకే, 1 సెకండ్. రికార్డింగ్ స్టార్ట్ అయింది. కనపడట్లేదా ఇప్పుడు?
కనబడుతుంది బట్ టీమ్స్‌ది కనబడుతుంది.
ఓకే, ఇదే కదా
హ్మ్.
కనపడుతుంది కదా.
ఆ!
ఓకే,
వర్డ్ ఏమన్నా ఓపెన్ చేసావేమో అని అడిగాను.
లేదు చేయలేదు.
ఓకే.
రైట్, స్టార్ట్ చేస్తాను. ఓకే, ఏం చేస్తానంటే ఈ స్క్రీన్ క్లోజ్ చేసేసుకుంటా. క్లోజ్ చేసేసుకొని మనము ఈ నోట్ ప్యాడ్ స్టార్ట్ చేస్తా. ఓకే, సో నౌ టుడే వీఆర్ గోయింగ్ టు డిస్కస్ అబౌట్ ది పర్చేస్ ఆర్డర్ ప్రాసెస్. లెట్ స్టార్ట్ విత్ పర్చేస్ ఆర్డర్ ప్రాసెస్. బేసిక్ పర్చేస్ ఆర్డర్ ప్రాసెస్. ఓకే, okay, so in basic purchase order process we have 4 to 5 steps. Okay, so one is like PO creation, 2 PO confirmation, 3 product receipt, 4 invoice posting, 5 vendor payment journal. Okay, we have, this is a basic, very basic process, but this is the industry best process. This is the best practice, industry best practice, because there might be, we can add so many other processes like additional processes we can add, but if you are adding additional process to this, it will be a burden for the company. So as per the industry standard, this is the industry best process for creation. For example, if you want to create a purchase order, we can create a purchase order, we do the confirmation will be done by the top management or the senior management. PO will be created by procurement team. Okay, buyer team. Okay, procurement team. There is separate team called procurement department. Procurement team or department.
Okay, and what about this one, requisition?
That is that I'll come to that again. That is a next level. Okay, there are in purchase order process, there are 3 different types of purchase order processes. So basic purchase order process, when will this come into picture is if you have all the information like quotation, comma, product information or quotation or product information and vendor information. All the information readily available with you, then you can do the purchase order creation. Okay.
Okay.
For example, if you do not have the quotation information, then what happens? For this process, this is a standard process. For this process, what happens? Quotation process will be added. Quotation process will be the additional process. So quotation process will come into picture. After quotation process, we'll do the PO process. This process is how to create the purchase order. So you have all the information like quotation, vendor, all the information you have in the sense you have ready information with you. So when you have ready information with you, then you can do the purchase order creation. So this is one case, case one. So there is one more case called quotation to vendor payment. Okay, quotation to vendor payment comes into picture when you do not have the quotation with you. Now we are just focusing on the basic process. Basic process in this, assume you have every information with you, every piece of information like quotation information, product information, vendor information, all the information you have readily available with you. Only thing is like you have to make a purchase order.
Okay.
Okay. So I can represent this one in the PPT also. In the sense, I can show the same process in flow diagram also. Let me show the information, same P2P process, purchase order creation process in flow chart. Then we'll go to the application. One second. Okay. All the processes, it might take time to create new ones. So what I'm doing,
Or else you can use the already
yeah,
created one.
yeah, the same thing I'm going to do. So purchase order process we have here. So copy, I'll take it to some other page. Okay. So that, so here what we are doing is, so the purchase order process, what I have explained in purchase order, basic purchase order process, what I have explained, the same purchase order process, instead of bullet points, you can also represent the same in activity diagram or a flow chart. So what happens? Always you will have start and end date for any activity. Okay. In between, you'll start. You need not worry about the navigation. Navigation is your navigation. You need not consider. The only thing is like the processes. What you are going to do is important. So only process the flow, the diagram, the activity diagram itself says the name itself says like it is activity diagram or a flow diagram. So how is the flow? So flow in the sense what happens? First we are going to create a purchase order. Step one. After creation of purchase order, we have created one purchase order that should be validated and confirmed by the senior management. So it will go to the senior management and senior management has to do the confirmation.
Okay.
After doing the confirmation, that purchase order will be sent to vendor. Okay.
Okay.
Once the purchase order is received by the vendor, he will do the shipping of the material. Okay. After shipping the material, it comes to our warehouse, our site and warehouse. Then what we have to do? We have to do the product receipt. Correct?
Yes,
We have
sir.
to do the product receipt. We have to receive the material. After receiving the material, we have to do the GRN process, that inward process. Okay. After doing the inward process, this physical material inward processing, we have to process the invoice. We have to post the invoice. We have to do the invoice entry. Okay. After doing the invoice entry, there might be some time like there might be something called net terms or payment terms. So how many days, after how many days we are supposed to pay to that vendor? Might be like 30 days, 40 days, 15 days, whatever it is. Based on the payment terms, the AP team, accounts payable team, will do the vendor payment journal. So once we do the vendor payment journal, the vendor will receive the payment. Okay.
Okay.
So once again, I'll come to the process. So purchase order creation, we do the creation of the purchase order. Okay. What we do, we'll do the purchase order creation. There are 1 or 2 steps in the purchase order creation. And in purchase order confirmation, it is hardly a button press. The top management has to review the information what we have enclosed in the purchase order creation, and just they have to do the validation. They have to check what items you are going to purchase, and they just do the confirmation. They click on button called confirm or confirmation button. Then purchase order gets created. This purchase order to be sent to vendor. After sending the vendor, we receive the material in our site warehouse. That material we have to receive. That is called goods receipt or inward process. After receiving the material, we might have received the invoice. That invoice have to be posted. Okay, we have to do the inventory entry of the invoice entry.
Mhm.
This is material entry. This is invoice entry. After doing the invoice entry, after particular time like 30 days, 40 days payment terms, based on the payment terms, accounts payable team will do the payment to vendor. So for doing the payment to vendor, they have to do the vendor payment journal. They have to create a vendor payment journal. After creating vendor payment journal, that vendor will be paid against that invoice. Okay.
Okay.
So this process we are going to do in the application. Okay, this is a demo version. So now we are going to do the basic purchase order process. Okay, with these 5 steps. Go to procurement and sourcing module. Collapse. Purchase orders. All purchase orders. I don't know why it is taking time.
Yeah, online version it will take time actually. If it is even in my personal system also it takes time
Okay.
because you should have 16 GB RAM to get it faster. With
Okay.
8 GB RAM, even the trial version which I have installed, even that is also slow.
Hmm.
Only client environment will be fast compared to all this trial environment or the practice environment which I have installed.
Okay. So now we are in all purchase orders page. Okay.
Okay.
Now our agenda is to make a purchase order. Okay. Purchase order creation, confirmation, product receipt. This will be a product receipt will be done by the warehouse personnel. Okay. And invoice will be invoice posting will be done by the accounts people, accounts department or stores department.
The accounts payable department.
Stores or
Accounts payable.
it depends upon the company to company. Okay. And vendor payment journal is purely accounts AP team. Okay. Accounts payable team. So the process which we are creating, this is senior management. So the process, the small process which we are creating will be used by different departments in a company. Okay. Here one procurement department is creating purchase order creation, and senior management is doing the validation and verification. And after that, the product receipt will be done by the warehouse personnel, warehouse team, and invoicing will be done by the stores team or the accounts department. and vendor payment journal will be done by the accounts payable team. So there are so many departments involved in the small purchase order process. So the whole process, the purchase order process will be split into different departments. Okay.
Okay.
Let me start the purchase order process. So first we'll create a new. So we'll have one form called create purchase order. In that we have to add the vendor. Select one vendor. Any vendor is fine. And we can select the site and warehouse here, or we can select the site and warehouse inside. Okay. So there is nothing to fill here. Only thing is like you have to fill the vendor information. And second thing, you have to check whether this is a purchase order or some other thing. Like there are so many things: purchase order, purchase return, and journal. So you should be assured of this. Okay, purchase order. That's it. Inside, after going into form, we can take care. We can add this information. Okay, only information which we have filled now is vendor information. So in purchase order creation, we have two steps. One is like purchase order creation, and we are adding the vendor information. And in the second step, we have to add the item information. Okay. I'm selecting some item called 1000, item number 1000. The vendor information, warehouse location information. Okay. Selecting quantity as the 2 quantity. And the price is automatically coming from the item master. Okay. The price is coming from the item master. We have created item, right? So at the time of creation of the item, we have also mentioned the price, the sales price there. So that price is flowing from the item master. Okay. So what we have created? We have created one purchase order. Inside purchase order, in that purchase order, we have added the vendor information. And in the next stage, we are adding the item information like item number, site warehouse, quantity, and the unit price. Okay, all this information we have added. So we are going to save this. So now what had happened is like we have created the purchase order. Purchase order creation process is done. Okay. So after doing the purchase order creation, if you want to see the transaction, you can see it. We go to inventory, transactions. We can see the status. We can see the purchase order number, and the reference is purchase order. Item is 1000, and the status is ordered. Okay. Whenever we create a purchase order, the status will be shown as ordered. Okay. Okay. Then we have to close this one. The second step is purchase order confirmation. Okay. Here what happens? We have created a purchase order. Then we have to go to purchase. So here the top management or senior management has to verify this information and he has to do the confirmation. Whether he can do the confirmation at this place or generate confirmation or actions confirmation. In generate confirmation, when you click here, it will direct to the print page. In the sense, if you want to do if you want to take any printout of the confirmation of the purchase order, then you can do here. But if you do not want to take any printout or a PDF copy or any information, if you want to take, if you do not want any print information, then you can do the confirmation. Just a confirmation, confirm. Okay. So this is mandatory. confirmation process is mandatory. When we do the confirmation, we get the status as operation completed and the buttons get graded out. Okay. Second, the step 2 got completed. And let's see the status, transaction status. So there is no change in the status because once the purchase order is created and confirmed, the status will not change. Let us do the third step called product receipt. Go to receive and do the product receipt. So when we click on the product receipt button, we'll get a form. This form will have the all information. Okay. So here we have to check whether we are going to receive as per the ordered quantity or receive now quantity or registered quantity or product receive quantity or registered quantity and service. So for now we are going to select ordered quantity in the sense as per the purchase order. So in purchase order, whatever quantity we have ordered by default, this is the default value. Always it will show as a default ordered quantity. So by default, there is nothing to do. So I want to give this information, piece of information to you for that reason. So generally ordered quantity will be there. So now we are going with ordered quantity. And second thing, what we have to do is like we have to enter the product receipt number. Product receipt number is nothing but there will be some number on the document like a packing slip number. The vendor will be sending us the packing material, and that material will have the invoice and the packing slip number or airway bill number or way bill number. Some information which we have received from the vendor have to be entered. For example, here I am giving some sample number, but in real time, we have to enter the information which is sent by the vendor, like a packing slip number, something like that. So PR number, I'm giving some 165 because I am taking for reference, I am taking the last three numbers. Okay. And I am checking the quantity. Okay, two quantity at this price. Okay. Enter. Okay, operation completed. You are done with the product receipt also. You have done with product receipt also. Okay. Now we can see the status here. Transaction. Then will be updated with received. Okay. It will be earlier it was ordered. Now it is received and the date of product receipt will be stamped here. Now we are going to do the invoice posting. So for invoice posting, you go to invoice and invoice. Hello, Srinivas.
Yeah, I'm on mute. Like if I have any doubts, I'll unmute and I'll ask.
Okay.
Yeah, you can carry on.
Now we are going to do the fourth step, invoice posting. So in invoice posting, let me come once again. In invoice posting, we go to invoice and click on invoice. When you click on invoice button under generate, you will get form like this. Okay. Then what you have to do is like you have to do the matching. So you have to click here and you have to check whether We have to check as per the invoice, the product receipt and the purchase order. You have to, the accounts team will be able to understand what exactly is this. So what is the total product receipt quantity? So this product receipt quantity will come from here, I think. So this product receipt quantity. So this is the product receipt quantity, PR process. So this PR number is there, right? So in three-way matching, this PR information, we are checking this one. So this is the PR process. In the sense product, we have done the product receipt in earlier stage, right? The product receipt we have done, right? So this product receipt information will flow here with a reference number called PR number. So the PR number, date, quantity, okay, this information we have. Now this information we have to check with the invoice and the PO information. So the total quantity is 2 and we have received 2 quantity and the price is 2400. So in this way they check the end users, the warehouse department, sorry, the stores department or account department will do the three-way matching or two-way matching and they do the confirmation. They just check match, they go inside the match product receipt form and they do the verification. They just compare the information what is there. If the values and numbers are correct, they click OK and they click on update status. But they have to do the verification here and click on the update status. So when we click on update status, the match will be performed. Now the match is showing us not performed. So when we click, only when you are okay, when you are sure of the numbers and the value, then you have to click on the update match status. So when we click here, the status will get changed to past. Then it is nothing but whatever information you have seen is true and you are giving the confirmation. After confirmation, if you want to see the totals, you can check the totals. So in totals, we can see all the information like what is the total amount, subtotal amount 2400 and invoice amount, cash discount amount, all information you can see here. And if you are okay with this, we can do the posting. We'll get error here because have not entered the invoice number. Invoice number we have to enter as per the vendor invoice. So vendor will be sending invoice and that invoice document will have the invoice number. That invoice number you have to mention and if required you can mention the invoice date also. That invoice date might be any date like a current date or past date, whatever it is. So assume they have generated yesterday and send it to us today. So we'll be mentioning the date. Okay, date and the invoice number. After mentioning these two information, we'll do the posting. Invoice number must be specified. There's nothing. So vendor invoice post process is complete. It is saying process completed. Okay. And that invoice journal had come and sit here. So this got graded out and invoice general got posted. Okay. Invoice journal got posted. And now the invoice posting step is complete. And we can also check the status of the transaction. Now it is showing as purchased. Earlier it is showing as received and now the status is showing as purchased and the financial date also got updated. In once we do the once we do the invoice posting, three things will get updated. Financial date will get updated. This receipt will be updated by the status called purchased and the cost amount also get updated. Three things when we do the invoice posting, three things will get updated. Financial date, it will be updated by purchased, and cost will be updated by cost amount. Okay, these three information is updated. Now, what we can do is, so the fourth step got completed. Vendor payment, vendor invoice posting done. And if you want to see, we can see the financial transactions. This invoice posting is done, right? This invoice posting can be seen in the vendor also, at vendor level also, vendor transactions. So is this 1001 is the vendor, right? Let us go to accounts payable, all vendors, vendor, and in the vendor, we can check the transactions. When we check the transactions, that particular transaction will be updated. That particular transaction, the purchase order transaction, the invoice posting which we have done, this 2400 information will be updated in the vendor transactions. Okay, this is the vendor transaction 2400. So it is nothing but we are in the sense that this buyer is supposed to pay this much of amount to the vendor. Okay, invoice number 165, invoice number 165, right? The same invoice which we have entered. You can see the journal, invoice journal. So invoice journal is 165. The same invoice information will go and will be updated in the vendor transactions. So this information will also be updated at this place. So finally, when we want to see the payment balance, so how much we are supposed to pay to this vendor, we can see from here, vendor transactions. Okay, now we have to do the payment processing, right? So to do the payment processing, we have to go to accounts payable, payments, vendor payment journal. Only when we do the vendor payment journal, that vendor will be paid. So we are in vendor payment journal. After coming to vendor payment journal, we'll create new. One journal is created. You give some name like a vendor payment. Just for information purpose, there is nothing. After creating the vendor payment journal line, we go to lines. In the lines, what we have to do is like we have to first find the vendor, search for the vendor. Okay, we are supposed to pay for 1001 vendor, right? After selecting the vendor, that vendor information will come and a settled transaction will get updated. In the sense, will get grading. So after clicking, for example, let me come back again. So now I don't have any information. Okay, so this is graded out. So as and when I selected the vendor and that information flows, now I am going to change the mode. Instead of check, I'm going to do the electronic payment transfer. Okay, I'm selecting the payment mode method. Okay, now what happens? Go to select transactions, settle transactions. So all the records pertaining to this vendor will come into picture. So all the invoices related to that vendor will be displayed. So our invoice is invoice number 165. So I am selecting the invoice number 165. After selecting 165, invoice number 165, I am clicking on OK. After clicking on OK, I'll do the posting. Okay. Posting result. Okay. Update has been cancelled because of error. Okay. Let us see the error. Validating the post. Okay. Not be made. Okay. Posting without amount. Posting without amount. Let me check. What happened? Okay. Settle transaction. Okay. I've selected this one. It has an amount. One second. Fully settled. Okay. Hello, Srinivas.
Yeah, please.
Yeah, these financials I am not that good. So I think some adjustments are there. So some financial adjustments are there. It is showing value, but it is not taking the value. For example, if I click OK, the record, the invoice which we are supposed to pay, like invoice number 165, and the
Okay.
amount is 2,400.
Mhm.
But I don't know, there are some settlements here, amount to settle something like the negative settlements. So for that reason, I am not clear what I have to do. So let us stop with here. The payment transactions could not process because I could not post the.
Okay, just 1 minute. Click on the post.
It is
Okay.
cancelled
Click on the
validating
message
posting.
details.
Vendor posting
Amount
without
can.
amount cannot
Okay.
be
Close this one. Close the message. Here, just enter. Just go to the debit field.
debit
Uh,
or credit. No, generally we have to do from the settle transaction.